Greetings, Professor. I've got a question. What if you wanted to play Splatoon, but only using your subs and specials? So, no main weapon, no primary fire. How miserable would it make you? Well, I tried it out, so you don't have to. With the recent announcement of Splatoon 3, there's been a lot of hype within the Splatoon community. This is understandably so, because I have almost 400 hours in this game over the past 3.5 years, and it's one of my all-time favorites. Splatoon is a game all about using your weapons to cover terrain with ink and splat your enemies. But I wondered what it would be like to not actually use your main weapon. Every weapon comes with one sub-weapon and one special ability. Subs are mostly like grenades, and specials are Splatoon's version of ultimates. Your specials are charged up by inking turf, which normally happens pretty quickly. It may sound like only using subs would be slow going, but there's one saving grace of Splatoon that makes this challenge a lot easier than you might think. The clothes in Splatoon are able to alter your stats, and these stat changes can be customized with a bit of luck or a bit of grinding. Since my main source of turf coverage in this challenge would be sub-weapons, I decided to go with a lot of Ink Saver sub. This means that we can get a lot more sub-weapons out for a smaller portion of our ink tank. You can mix and match gear for some special charge up or some sub power up, depending on your preference. In general, I found a mix of all three to be the most widely beneficial. With my outfit set, it was time to choose my first weapon. And boy howdy, were there choices. Because we can only use subs, we would ideally pick a weapon with a very low special cost. Of all the weapons in Splatoon 2, the lowest point requirement to charge a special is 150p, and there are only two of these. One is the Undercover Brella, kind of like a shotgun with a shield on it. Unfortunately, the sub on this Brella is an ink mine, a sort of landmine that's great at tagging enemy locations, but not ideal at inking terrain or players. Or so I thought. We'll get back to this later. The other option is the default ink brush, which has a Splat Bomb sub and a Splashdown special. As an Octobrush main myself, normally I would love to use a brush, but after a bit of practice, I found that Splat Bombs didn't ink nearly enough ground to justify their cost. Plus, the long delay between throwing a Splat Bomb and when it explodes made me think that I probably couldn't win many close quarters matches in order to stay alive or contribute to my team. I did like the Splashdown special though, because it's often very powerful as a surprise attack or if you get cornered. The next most expensive specials are 160p. Since I wanted a Splashdown, I decided to try out the original Splooshomatic. It has a Curling Bomb sub, which meant that I was in for some interesting gameplay. Curling Bombs are unique because they can be used to cover lots of distance, or you can charge them up to decrease their distance traveled. It can be very tricky to get a kill with one, but at least I could cover lots of turf while exploring. Curling Bombs are tons of fun and lead to some novel approaches to inking turf, but I found myself generally unable to pull off a successful kill with them because of how obvious and avoidable they can be. And the trade-off between ink cost and turf covered made me feel like I wasn't getting enough value out of my subs. My specials did have a low charge cost, but even with that, the Curling Bombs simply weren't getting enough ground covered to consistently provide splashdowns. So I wanted to go for something that would give me more value per ink tank, while also giving me the opportunity to splat a few enemies. I wanted to try out a faster sub-skill, which meant that I would eventually go back to the basics, with Burst Bombs. These water balloons from hell are one of the strongest things in Splatoon 2, and have shaped the meta in a big way. Because of how quickly they can be used to cover turf in a pinch, or more aggressively, uninstall your opponents, Burst Bombs can make 1v1s tense at best, and unfair at worst. The default Splattershot has Burst Bombs and Splashdown, but it costs 170p per special. I wasn't too worried about the special cost though, since a few slots of Ink Saver sub meant that we could quickly throw out 2 bombs in one tank, and get a third just on the auto refill alone. This meant that we could cover way more turf per tank than the previous Curling Bomb attempt. And it was pretty successful. As expected, the Burst Bombs are quite powerful on a direct hit, and I was able to get much more value both in combat and in turf coverage. The problem with Burst Bombs is that if your opponent has gear with bomb defense up, they can sometimes survive 2 direct hits and take you out before the third one refills. After a while of playing in the same lobby, a few players caught on to my gimmicks and started equipping bomb defense up gear, which made for a fun challenge. I could have opted for even more Inksaber sub to get 3 rapid bombs, but I generally liked the balance I'd struck with my current gear. Out of curiosity, I did try switching to the Splat Dualies. My intention was to use the dodge roll mechanic unique to dually class weapons in order to move unpredictably while throwing bombs. Unfortunately, I quickly learned that you can't dodge roll without primary firing, so I was stuck with Tentamissiles for a bit, an art that I have clearly not mastered. As I mentioned earlier, I am an Octobrush main. The Kenza Octobrush comes with suction bombs, though I was only able to get elims with these while camping someone's super jump. The real reason I wanted to use the Kenza Octobrush is because it has my favorite special in Splatoon 2, the Ultra Stamp. Sometimes I use it for turfing, but for the most part, I think it's fun to use as a really, really large bomb. At any point during the Ultra Stamp's duration, it can be thrown, just like a sub-weapon, which makes for some very satisfying kills. The hitbox can be a bit unpredictable, so it takes some practice, and it's something even I don't have down just yet. I do sometimes try to use it normally, but by this point, most people have learned to just shoot the user from behind or between slams, so it's easily shut down. The stamp also has a very long charge time before actually stamping, which makes frontward assaults risky. But in general, I adore the Ultra Stamp as a yeet machine of death, so it was nice to get some more practice in. And more clips for my highlight reel. While I was making this video, I thought it would be a fun challenge to get a kill with every sub capable of dealing damage. By definition, this excludes 3 particular sub-weapons: Squid Beacons, Point Sensors, and Toxic Mist. You've already seen me use Splat Bombs, Curling Bombs, Burst Bombs, and Suction Bombs. So for the conventional bombs, that leaves Auto Bombs, Fizzy Bombs, and Torpedoes. All of these were pretty easy to work with, and Auto Bombs are surprisingly good at inking turf, once you figure out how to place them. I learned that Fizzy Bombs have a great linear ink coverage, and their unpredictable bounciness can make them very strong in tight situations. Apparently, the torpedo automatically inks the position the player is standing in, as well as its landing site. Not too useful for a normal game, but great for on-the-spot coverage. The unconventional damage-dealing subs include the Ink Mine, Sprinkler, and Splash Wall. I was able to get a kill with the Ink Mines in my first game, and found them to be unexpectedly useful at inking turf. Since you can only have 2 out at a time, placing a third will cause the earliest Ink Mine placed to explode, retroactively covering turf in a pretty large area. The Sprinkler took a lot more work. It can still take a lot of hits to splat someone, even when using a ton of sub-power up gear. Eventually, I was able to coordinate it with a teammate's burst bomb to deal just enough damage for a finishing blow, after 11 games of trying. I wouldn't recommend it, but I was able to hone my game sense by watching my teammates and gauging when enemies were low. I knew the splash wall would be tricky. This curtain of ink only does damage if someone bumps into it, and that needs to happen 4 times to kill from full HP. After many attempts in solo queue, I called a friend to help coordinate and corral my targets. Since solo kills would be unlikely, the goal was to force a low HP opponent into one of my surprise walls. We eventually went into 2-player league to ensure we'd be on the same team. I'm very sorry to all of my teammates for the many losses. But after 22 games, it finally happened. I cannot recommend using Splash Wall as a main weapon in the slightest, though this was a great exercise in studying how opponents move and predicting their escape paths. So, there you have it. I was able to get at least 1 kill with every damage-dealing sub-weapon in Splatoon 2 without ever using my primary fire. If there was ever a wrong way to play Splatoon, this would probably be it. As an added bonus, I thought it could be fun to try out Salmon Run using only subs and specials. I called in my friend Austin, a longtime veteran of the series, and my other friend Joseph, a veteran of Hazard Level Max. The plan was to carry me through some low difficulty levels, so I reset my rank and gave it a shot. We were able to win a few games, but by the time we got to Professional 100, it started getting pretty difficult. After all, we were basically playing with only 3 people. The only bosses that I could reliably kill were Flyfish and Moz. Event modes like Mothership meant that I was functionally useless, but I did get some nice practice in trying to hit steel eels and scrappers with the Splat Bomb. Ink resource management was easily the hardest part of this, as only having one Splat Bomb per tank made mistakes painfully punishing. Hey, maybe if Salmon Run comes back in Splatoon 3, we'll be able to use custom gear. We'll just have to wait and see what Mr. Grizz has in store. In the meantime, some of the footage used in this video was streamed live on my Twitch. I stream every weekend and on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so feel free to drop by for more Splatoon and variety content. If there's a challenge you'd like to see, let me know and I'll give it a try. I hope you stay happy, healthy, and hydrated, and most importantly, stay fresh.